Arcade Perfect, my Arse.
Okay guys, welcome to another Arcade Perfect My Arse. And today's game is Altered Beast. Now this game doesn't get a very good press. I'm not quite sure why. I've never really played the game to any sort of degree, so I can't really comment too much on whether it's a good game or not. Now, I believe some of the sort of the criticism it gets is because it's a pretty dull game to start off with. You basically you play the part of this sort of I don't know, Hercules type Thor character. He's got his muscles are bigger than his head by the looks of things, and you just walk from left to right and you kill all these bad things that come towards you, some obscure looking zombies that seem to carry their own head. Can I jump? Appears not. So you can punch and kick by the looks of things. Now I believe you can actually, on later levels, you turn into a wolf, I think. This game was famously given away. Well, I wouldn't say given away, it was bundled with the, I think it was the very first Mega Drive pack in the UK, and it got pretty much slated. But I have to say, I have played the Mega Drive one a couple of times and it looks pretty much like the arcade one, so again, whether it's because the arcade one is crap to begin with, I'm not quite sure. Oh, bugger off. It's a bit like Kung Fu Master with zombies. That's the best way to describe this. Oh, it's never give up. Well, until you run out of 10p's at least, mate. Now, I don't know what happens when you reach the edge of the screen. You start to walk automatically. Yeah, it's a game that's never really been, it's always been, anytime you hear people speak about Altered Beast, it's usually in a negative sort of way. I mean, graphically wise, it's actually not too bad. But I think it's a fairly dull game to play, you know, there's not really any variety, I don't think. It's quite bloodthirsty, I must admit. The old sort of gore levels. How do I kill that big thing? I'm used to it if I don't want to get electrocuted. Oh, piss off. Yeah, it's a fairly sort of slow-paced game. So yeah, is that the reason it gets kind of slayed? I'm not quite sure. And punching that two-headed dog appears to turn it into a ball, strangely enough. Is there any reason that thing's staying up there? Is that to, should I go and kill it? I'm not quite sure. Jump, punch, kick. Ah, you have got a jump button. I didn't know that. Let's try again. Right. Let's just continue. Never give up. Ah, right, so you can jump. Can you jump and do a kick? It appears not. I seem to be doing some obscure kicking up move, which isn't what I want to do. How are we doing for time? Right, we're almost 5 minutes. Let's just finish this particular game and then we shall move on to the home versions. Well, very sadly I've not even managed to get powered up once. Apparently with this game, if you kill so many baddies you can't grow in stature. But so far I've yet to... Oh, there we go. Just as I speak. Let's kill Uncle Fester if we can. Or maybe not. Oh dear. He's turned into a big pile of jobbies. Okay, right, listen, that is arcade on, guys. Let's have a look at some home versions.
Okay then, this is the Amstrad CPC 464 version. Now I had a hell of a lot of bother trying to get this one to work. Couldn't get it working on my Xbox. I don't have an Amstrad unfortunately. Well, I do, but I don't have any means of loading anything on it. So yeah, I managed to eventually get it working using a different emulator. Now it's... It looked, or it looks I should say, quite similar to the C64, probably a bit better graphics, it has to be said. Not quite as blocky looking. It's certainly quick enough, and like I says, yeah, the graphics, they don't have the bleeding off the Spectrum, and they don't have the blockiness of the C64. And it's got a wee sort of funky tune playing in the background as well. There's Fester. Yeah, I mean this is, I would say this is probably about as best a conversion on the CPC as you could really hope for. But the problem being is when the source game isn't the greatest, then you know what, it's... you can't really do much about that. Oh, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball, get the ball. Did I grow there at all? Didn't look like it. Take that to the shins. Yeah, I must admit, playing as many versions of this, it just feels like a chore, this game, because nothing changes. Well, I can assume maybe in level 3 it changes to a driving game or something, I don't know, because I've never got that far, but it's just a fairly, it should technically be a great game with zombies and power-ups and werewolves and things, but it's just, I don't know what it is, it's just been, if it increased the speed of the game possibly, made it a bit more like Kung Fu Master, a bit more in your face, it'd been a better game. I don't know. But as it is, it's just a very, very dull arcade game, I hate to say. see if we can get past this thing. Oh, his head appears to detach itself from his massive, a big massive steaming poo. There's absolutely no indication if you're going to actually get to the end or not, so... Hey! Anyway guys, listen, that is enough. That is Amstrad CPC 4641.
Okay guys, this is the Commodore Amiga one. Now you may or may not notice I've actually had to change the way I've recorded these Arcade Perfects. What I used to do was make the video and do the sort of talk over at the same time, but because I'm now working during the day, I can't really get peace and quiet to do it. So what I've done is I've made the videos and I'm now doing this sort of talk over after I've recorded all the playthroughs. So I'm basically just watching this back and commentating. So yeah, you can see there the Amiga one isn't too bad at all. Graphically it's pretty good. The sort of scrolling's fairly smooth as well. Graphics are quite nice, and it moves at a kind of feral sort of pace as well. Oh, we've got to say the sort of the hellhounds look more like pigs. I just noticed the sort of jaw of these things moving as well. Never actually played this back in the day. But yeah, it moves fairly well. It's quite quick. Graphics look not too bad. I mean, I think it's, well, having played how many versions, 10 versions of it, Altered Beast is not really the greatest game in the world. So I hate to say it, but I think the criticism level at it is probably deserved. It's a fairly mundane game to actually play. So if the arcade game's not the greatest, then you can't expect too much from the home versions. But some of the other versions that I looked at were very sluggish, but I've got to say that this one is probably one of the better ones. Which I would expect. I mean, you know, Commodore Amiga's a fairly nippy computer. Here come the babes from hell. Babes as in the pig babes. Is it two-headed pigs, I think? I'm not quite sure what that up the way is. I'm not quite sure, it doesn't seem to do very much at all. And here's Hellboy coming, except he's blue instead of red. Oh, what's this? Ah, right, okay, I have metamorphosized, is that a word? I have changed into the wolf. Now obviously the Amiga has only got the one button, whereas the arcade has actually got 3 buttons. You've got jump, you've got sort of fire, and you've also got the sort of the speed move type thing. But in the Amiga it's all operated from one joystick button. But I must admit it controlled fairly well. It was actually quite a nice version to play. I didn't actually realise I'd played this one for as long as I did. Right, now to face Uncle Fester as he turns into a large jobby, throwing out smaller jobbies. I'm not quite sure of the tactics to defeat him. Do you have to avoid the jobbies that he throws, or what? I'm really not too sure. I don't know whether that's speed move. There doesn't appear to be any energy bar for the bad guy, so I'm really not too sure the best way to kill this thing. But he doesn't want to die. Hey, there we go. Hey now chaps, that is the Commodore Amiga. let us move on to the next version. Okay, this is the C64 one. Quite a nice little sort of title screen. Now this, when I was playing this one, it just looks very, very, very dull. It looks like you could do with the sort of brightness or the contrast turned up. It's just fully greys. Now I totally appreciate that it's all sort of concrete and that kind of stuff, so from that in mind, the actual graphics aren't too bad, but it just looks very, very dull. I mean, the sprites themselves at least kind of stand out, but it's done in the sort of expanded sprites you know, format, so the graphics are very blocky looking, but I've got to say it does move fairly well and it's quite responsive to actually play. I think this, you know, the analogy I could use for this is how can you expect a fantastic home version when the arcade, the source isn't particularly great? It's like trying to polish a jobby, you know, it'll still always be a jobby, and that is probably the way I see this game. It's slightly more fun to play than a jobby, I'm guessing, but you know where I'm coming from. Get the large balloon thing. Yeah, I mean, even the animation, you know, the walking, it's the animation. The arcade's pretty naff to begin with, so it's never, you know, you can never, unless you're going to radically change the game, it's never going to be that great. If the source is crap, then the home conversions are going to be pretty crap as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I quite enjoyed playing through all these, but it's certainly, compared to most arcade games, it's pretty bland. There's really nothing happens. It's the same thing, just walk from left to right. Killed by the white blanket or whatever it is. Did he explode when he walked into a gravestone? It appeared so. Yeah, the sprites in the C64, they're a bit indistinguishable. Was that the right word to use? It's no very, the details are not particularly good. But it's not a bad version, I have to say. It pretty much captures the essence of the arcade game. And there's a large two-headed vole or rat or rabbit, I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be. Oh, two of them. Die. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I seem to do a sort of a sideways shuffle behind him. Ah, he just sunk back into the ground, never seen that. Anyway, this is the C64, let's move on. Okay, this version is, as you can see there, it's the Game Boy Advance. Now this is Altered Beast in name only, or as they call it, was it Altered Beast Guardian of the such and such. It's really nothing like the arcade one. Now I probably played this for a bit longer than I should have actually, because really it's got absolutely, yeah, apart from the name and the fact that you walk from left to right punching and kicking baddies, it's really completely different. I've got to say though, this is actually quite a fun game. I probably played it for a wee longer than I should have. it's no bad animation actually, it's quite impressive that. Yeah, I should really have cut this shorter, but you know what, it's I'm not quite sure what happened there. I don't know if it kind of crawled a slug there in the video, but it did when I was doing the voiceover. Yeah, and we have some large, some skeletons with extremely large weighted boots on. So it's no bloody wonder they can't walk very fast. What's interesting is the fact they've called this Altered Beast. Why did they not keep the baddies? Why did they change it so dramatically? I really don't know why, because obviously the game is sort of rotting corpses and zombies and such like, and they've completely changed the baddies. But this isn't a bad version actually. I mean, I played this on a sort of larger screen and the graphics look quite nice and smooth. Although I didn't actually notice me powering up at any point, so I don't know whether or not you can do that in this version, really no idea. Kick to the shins. Die. And is that a Minotaur or something, is it? Oh, there's a kind of ghost thing. Yeah, there's certainly a plethora of beasts from the dead coming to take you. But like I say, apologies for playing this one too long, because it's not Altered Beast, let's be honest. It's just Altered Beast with the same name, and that's about it. But if you like Altered Beast, you'll probably quite enjoy playing this. I know I certainly enjoyed playing it. Now you can probably tell I'm kind of talking rather quietly. It's because it is 11:30 at night, so I'm having to keep my voice down a wee bit. And we're just about coming up to the end of the Game Boy Advance, and we shall move on to next version. No thank you, let's move on. Right, this is the Master System. Oh, that'll that will prompt an epileptic fit if ever there was. Now this one, I have to say, it didn't play too bad at all. What is interesting about this one is they've kind of, rather than try and copy the sort of animation where he's like his leg and arms fall off, they've gone for a complete explosion of sprite. So you can see there when you sort of bash the zombies, they just kind of break up into pieces. And you've got killer dogs as well, looks like killer bulldogs here. And they appear to shatter into pieces as well, so they... Oh, there's a white dog. Get balloon. Or in that case, the blue snooker ball. I've got to say, the animation, I mean, I don't know how many frames of animation they've used for this. When you see him walking, it's like 2 frames. But this actually wasn't a bad, this was actually very, very playable. Statically wise, the graphics look not too bad. It seemed to play very, very slowly though. I hope there's some more dogs. Get the killer dogs. Rawr. There we go, it's more like it. Now I think at this point I hadn't actually discovered you can actually fire bullets or fireballs. So the only move I knew with this is the sort of run and smash move, so you can just virtually smash things into pieces, which kind of proved fairly effective. Now, I certainly don't like this method of doing the voiceover after it. I prefer sort of talking as I'm playing, but unfortunately it's going to be, until things change, it's going to be quite difficult, so this is going to be the way it's going to get done from now on. Guys, I hope that's okay with you. Oddly, they've done away with the background for this particular section. I don't know why. Maybe it helps to make it clearer, maybe it can't handle the background as well. And it's game over. Let's go for another shot. Rise from your grave? I beg your pardon, was it rave? I have no idea. Yeah, this game should have been good on paper. You know, you've got a big muscle bound guy who expands as he destroys enemies. He can fire fireballs, he changes into a wolf, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's fighting zombies. I mean, what more could you ask for? But I don't know, I think it's so slow paced. I think that's one of the biggest problems with this game. I've got to say, this Master System one is fairly playable. It's not got the greatest animation in the world, and it's obviously done its own thing when it comes to destroying sprites or baddies, but it works. Rawr! I discovered the fireballs at this point. Now, I don't know if you're limited to how many you've got. Now, being a Sega game, this game did not, well, I mean, it came out obviously in the Game Boy Advance later on, but it didn't come out in any of the Nintendo consoles, because obviously this came out at the time when Nintendo and Sega were fierce rivals, so you're never going to get a Sega game on a Nintendo system, so that's why it never appeared for either the NES or the SNES. That's the thing, kids nowadays, they're just used to seeing Mario and Sonic on all consoles, and they probably never believed at one point there was actually a bitter rivalry. Kill Jobby Monster. Arge. Yeah, you've got absolutely no way of actually knowing how many times you got to kill that thing. Anyway, let's crack on and move on to the next version. That's the Master System. Okay, now this one, this was a bit of an unexpected find. This is Altered Beast, and this is on the PC. It was released under DOS, and I managed to actually there's an online emulator. There's a website that basically emulates, it lets you play loads and loads of DOS games in a window, so that's what I used to do this one. So that's actually quite a good place to know about when I'm coming to do future versions. Now, I've got to say, I was actually strangely surprised at how good this particular version is. It's very, very white looking, but again, it's because they've obviously tried to recreate all the sort of concrete and that kind of stuff and block work, but it actually looks not bad. The sprites look quite detailed, got quite good sound, and it actually moves really well. Some decent scrolling, yeah, it's certainly the best one so far, which to be fair isn't saying very much. Blue dog and white bat. There's not a huge amount of colour in the game. I mean, even your main character's rather whiter than white. Arr. Yeah, complete lack of a roaring sound. That's more like it. That's a thing. In fact, you know what? I'm going to leave this. Playing this game has actually given me a topic to discuss in Friday's Waffle. So if you're intrigued, then please tune in on Friday. But yeah, I was actually quite surprised, quite pleasantly surprised at just how good this particular version is. Kill Jobby, man. Well, he's more red looking than Jobby coloured, so. But most of the arcade conversions that came into PC were pretty poor compared to like the Commodore Amiga and the ST. But this one's actually not bad. Right, that's enough of that. Let's crack on and we shall take a look at another version. This is the DOS version for PC. Okay, now this is probably the most sort of well-known version of Altered Beast. This is on the Sega Mega Drive. Now I've got to say, having revisited it to make this feature, I was actually quite surprised at how good a version it was. Now this game, like I said, has been pretty much panned. You know, it was panned even on the Mega Drive, but having played the arcade one and then this is pretty much spot on. I mean, you know, as I've said before, the arcade game's not good, and this is perfect. I mean, this is as perfect as a conversion as you would really hope to get. It's got speech, it's got nice smooth movement, graphics look really nice. I'm not quite sure what he's doing there. He's spitting out, is he breathing out smoke or something? Has he got killer cotton wool or something he spits out? I'm really not too sure. Yeah, he certainly needs to work on his size of his head. His head's extremely small looking compared to his muscles. Doesn't he know that bodybuilding is all about symmetry as well, so he needs to work on that a wee bit. Now we're talking. This was actually the first game to get bundled with the Sega Mega Drive when it came out in the UK, or probably Europe actually.
Welcome to your doom.
Yeah, and then later on when they brought out Sonic the Hedgehog, they decided to port Sonic. They didn't decide to port. They decided to bundle Sonic with the Mega Drive, which is probably the best thing they could have done, because I think that then went on to sell millions. But yeah, I'd have been quite happy with this game. I mean, you were getting an arcade perfect version of this. So I'm really not quite sure why this game was panned as bad as it was. It's just because the game itself is not particularly good. I'm really not too sure. Okay, let's run another game.
Rise from your grave.
got the colour bubble gum again. Was it bad breath? Possibly. I'm not too sure.
Power up.
Yeah, I think it's bad breath. I think he's burps in them actually. Right, quick. Now to kill Uncle Fester.
Welcome to your doom.
You've got to love the voice acting back in the day. Right, come on, this time.
Oh!
I didn't want to do that. I think the secret here is hit with your fireballs and just move and don't get hit with these killer jobbies.
Oh!
Which is easier said than done. Hey! This he erupts in a mite of bubbles and turns into a floating head. Okay, where now? Oh, and we've got blobs of bubblegum. Oh, dearie me. And killer huskies yet again. Now these things look like the ghosts out of Ghostbusters.
Power up.
The hell's that? A killer rattlesnake or something? Kill him with the bad breath. Die.
Power up.
Hey, I recognise him. He is the thing you get to ride in Golden Axe. It's quite interesting to see that they've actually picked a sort of baddie out of an earlier game to turn into something that's good. Although saying that, he does appear initially as a baddie because one of the other baddies rides him. He's obviously shrunk in size a wee bit in this game. Oh, dragon. Now we're talking. I must admit, when you turn into something like this, there's not a huge amount of space. Anyway, listen guys, that is the Sega Mega Drive. Let's crack on. Right, this is the PC engine. Now, it appears to have simultaneous 2 players as well. So I was just wanting to listen to see if there was any speech. And this looks not too bad. It kind of looks very, very similar to the Mega Drive. Slightly smaller looking graphics, but fairly kind of detailed looking. But it's very, very pedestrian again, isn't it? It's a slow game. Come on. Now, I'm sure at this point I didn't realise you could actually jump. I'm not quite sure what that kick in the air actually does. Not a great deal. Take that punch to the balls. There's a wee bit slowdown in this version, I notice. But then we tend to forget that this is actually an 8-bit console. I mean, this console came out. This console came out when we were still playing 8-bit computers. I mean, this console was so far ahead of its time that it wasn't real. You know, I mean, it really was. It was an absolute staggering piece of hardware for its time. Right, let's go for another wee go. Yeah, I don't see myself playing Altered Beast for a long time. It's quite a boring game to play, I have to say. But they're all part of our history, guys. Get the ball. Killer breath. Now what they should have had is a sort of burping sound effect. When he does that, that would add more to it. Get off. I'm not quite sure how you kill these bat things. Can you jump and fire at the same time? I'm not too sure. Pass off. Go faster appeared stuff and disappeared. Bollocks. Anyway guys, that is the PC engine. Let's crack on. Okay, this is the Atari ST. Now it's very similar to the Amiga one. I noticed quite a bit of glitching with the sound effects. Now I don't know whether it's because I was running this under an emulator. The emulator isn't the greatest. I mean, that's unfair to say. The emulator isn't actually that bad, but it's because when I run the screen capture software, it just seems to take a lot of the processing power over. So yeah, this one it wasn't running particularly great. But having not got an original ST, well, in fact I tell a lie, I do have an Atari ST. I just don't have any games for it. I can't actually test these games on proper hardware. I must admit I found this particular version quite easy. But not bad graphics. I mean the graphics in this and the Amiga were pretty identical. Avoid the jobbies. But yeah, there was when did this come out? I don't know, 1990 or something. There was just a rake of games along the similar sort of theme, you know, sideways scrolling, hack 'em up, slash 'em up with kind of ugly looking baddies. You know, you had your Alien Storm, Golden Axe, Alien Syndrome. There seemed to be a thing about aliens. Yeah, these games were 10 a penny, and unfortunately they weren't all that, you know, they weren't all brilliant, and this was definitely one of them that wasn't a particularly good game to begin with. Killer Bubblegum. Ah, he's changed colour from pink to grey. Now they look slightly more fearsome than the other ones. The little dogs. They appear to have got little Yorkshire Terrier dogs. Or is it killer pigs? I'm not too sure. Get the bubblegum. Oh, there's the rattlesnake. Kick the rattlesnake bit off it. Bugger off. Oh, Christ, that turned into a large mouth. Right, anyway guys, that ended rather abruptly there. This is the ZX Spectrum version. Now it started off fairly promising looking, nice title screen. Let's pick Kemson C. And space to start. I command you to rise from your grave and rescue my daughter. And what's in it for me, like? Yes. Do not adjust your TV sets. This is what it looks like. Now, this is another example of the programmers of the Spectrum, instead of trying to take the idea of the arcade game, they've tried to copy it arcade perfect, you know, graphically perfect. And whilst they've succeeded in doing that, because the Spectrum lacks the proper colour, it just looks like one unholy mess. They would have been far better, in my mind, making it the graphics smaller, even making it what do you call it? Just a couple of colours, make it a couple of colours, monochrome, and you may have actually had half a chance. But you know, it's a very, very credible effort, but it just, at times it just looks far too messy. I mean, you can see there the sort of like the sort of purple colour of these zombies. It's like giving, it's like asking a 2-year-old to colour the graphics in. They've not just coloured in the actual sort of clothes, they've kind of coloured in the backgrounds as well. They've kind of overshot the graphic itself. So that is down to the old colour clash thing in the Spectrum. So I think they would have been better actually trying to stick to monochrome graphics. But out of all the 8-bit versions, it's certainly the most ambitious one, for sure. I mean, I'm reluctant to mark this version down, because it does look quite nice. But the biggest problem I would say is, well, I didn't seem to have any sound. Now I don't know what was going on there. It's possibly my emulator or whatever, but I didn't get any sound, although I think there probably is sound in it. But it's the fact that the graphics just seem to they all seem to run into each other, especially when your guy's against a sort of green background. It gets quite difficult to actually see him. I mean, he looks okay there, he's yellow against purple, but when he starts walking against sort of green backgrounds, then it does get very difficult. But you know, it's quite a credible attempt, considering what we're talking about here. We're talking about a 48K computer, probably leaving less than 48K memory spare, and the fact that it's even running something like this, that's why the Spectrum has the love and attention it deserves, because it shouldn't have done half the things it did do. I mean, you can see there, even when you destroy the baddies, they can explode. You can see their arms and legs. You can see there he's kind of turned yellow. It's quite difficult to actually see your character. Yeah, it's almost like if they cut down in the colour, then it may have looked sharper, but It may have lost a bit of its character, and now he's running at 100 miles an hour. Actually, looking back at this version, I was going to score it down more than I'm going to, because I do think it's actually a very credible version. You know, it's just unfortunate that the sort of graphics in the background kind of mask the sort of the sprites, which is unfortunate. The scrolling's not the greatest, but then you know what? That's the spectrum for you. Right, let's give this bad guy a go. Bloody hell. Now, if I remember rightly, it was virtually impossible to actually avoid these things, these heads that he throws at you. It didn't seem to matter where. Yeah, my character appeared to disappear at this point until I pressed fire button. Yeah, it's almost impossible to actually find a gap in the heads. So no matter where you stand, you're going to get blasted with these heads. Because he walks, oh, excuse me. Because he walks that fast, it's kind of hard to sort of get him placed just in the right spot so he doesn't get crushed to death. Well, hey! Again, there doesn't appear to be any indication of when you're going to kill him. Anyway guys, that is the ZX Spectrum one.
Okay guys, that is it. That was the very last version of the Altered Beast. Yeah, right, where do we begin? Let's see. The Atari ST and Commodore Amiga, both virtually identical. Really good graphics, smooth enough scrolling, pretty good versions of an arcade game. Now I have to say here and now, the arcade game, in my opinion, isn't the greatest game in the world. It's quite a boring game. It's very pedestrian, you know. So you know, it doesn't matter if the arcade game isn't sort of a particularly good game, then you know you can't expect much more of home versions. So I'm basing this purely on how sort of accurate it is to the arcade one. So yeah, Commodore Amiga and Atari ST, very faithful. You know, decent graphics, decent colour, decent animation. It's got the sort of sampled sound effects. So yeah, pretty good conversions. C64, not bad. The backgrounds in this game, as you can see here, I mean this is just the arcade one running in the background. It's a lot of kind of grey, concrete type sort of buildings. Now, when you get a computer like the C64 that can only produce sort of 8 colours, then you know you're kind of limited. So yeah, the C64 backgrounds were very kind of washed out and dull looking, a sort of distinct lack of colour. The sprites themselves, I mean, they're the typical C64 expanded sprites, but all in all, for a 64 version, it's pretty damn good. It's about the best you could really hope for. The Game Boy Advance, it's the same game in name only. It's completely done its own thing. It's actually quite a good game. I mean, I did play it for quite a while and it's a pretty good game, but like I says, the graphics are different, the baddies are different. Yeah, you've got a guy who can kick and punch. I didn't notice him changing into anything at all, so I don't know if it does that, but yeah, completely different game from the arcade one, so you can't really compare this one. Master System, pretty good, actually pretty good, pretty good sprites, you know, the colour, the sound.
and when you sort of destroy a baddie in the arcade, his limbs kind of come flying off. In the Master System one, the baddies seem to explode into pieces. Even the dogs, when you kill them, they just explode into bits. So yeah, pretty good version in the Master System. PC DOS one, actually quite surprised at how good that was. Pretty lack of colour again, but it's fast, it's got good sound, the graphics look pretty arcade-like, so quite a good version for the PC. I mean, I've played some DOS sort of arcade games and they're usually pretty horrendous, but this is actually pretty good. Sega Mega Drive, well, that's probably the most famous version. Now this was panned when it came out, but I have to say it's pretty much spot on with arcade. It really is. It's a good version of Altered Beast. If that's what you want, then you can't go wrong with the PC, with the Mega Drive one. You've even got 2 players as well, sort of thing, so can't complain at that. PC Engine, pretty similar to the Mega Drive, slightly smaller sprites. There's no speech, unfortunately, which the Mega Drive version does have, but again, it's a pretty decent version of quite a poor arcade game. ZX Spectrum, what can I say? I was kind of split decision with this one, or split opinions. It's a very, very credible attempt. I mean, they've tried to copy the graphics, pixel perfect, you know, rather than go for a downgraded version with small sprites and that kind of stuff. They've gone for the full boona, proper arcade, big graphics, and it does look really good. The biggest problem with the Spectrum one is, I mean, they've even tried to get the colour. They've not gone for a monochrome picture. That might have been better, because the problem is you kind of lose your player against the background. It's a really, I don't want to criticise it, because I think it's a really brave attempt. They've done a good, really good crack at producing an arcade game in the Spectrum. So yeah, it's a pretty good version. It really is. The last 8-bit version is the Amstrad. Quite impressed with that. Certainly the best 8-bit version. Graphics look good. It's quite fast. It's got decent sound. Really, really looks good. So yeah, all the 8 bits are actually pretty damn good. So anyway, decision time. I was kind of stuck between second and third place, but I've decided in third place I'm going to go for the PC version. Really good game. Says slight lack of colour, but it looks the part. It's quick. It feels like an arcade game, so yeah, really good. It's unlikely you're going to be able to play the PC one. It's hard to find, and it's even harder to try and get running. But yeah, that's a good version. In second place, it's going to be the PC Engine. Really good version, slightly smaller graphics than arcade, but all in all, pretty good. But yeah, there's only going to be one winner in this, and it's got to be the Sega Mega Drive. An almost arcade perfect version. So yeah, you can't really ask for much more than that, guys. And it's mega cheap to pick up as well. So if you want to play Altered Beast, either grab yourself an arcade cab, or else you could go down the route of a MAME, or else if you want just a home conversion, then go grab yourself a Mega Drive. That is it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I do apologise about not talking very loud, because I've had to obviously change the way I've done this. I mean, just to put it into perspective, this Arcade Perfect has actually taken me 3 days to put together, whereas normally I could throw this together in one day, but I didn't get in until quite late on tonight, sort of thing. So obviously the fact I'm kind of back at work at the moment, it's making it more difficult to produce these. But I do hope you've enjoyed watching it, guys. I know it's not the greatest game in the world, but sometimes crap games are good fun to look at as well. So as usual, guys, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I would always appreciate any feedback at all. And as usual, guys, thank you very much for watching.